I really do not know anything clearly about the other two Istari, since they do not concern the history of the Northwest. I think they went as emissaries to distant regions, east and south, far out of Númenórean range, missionaries to enemy-occupied lands as it were. Still taking counsel for the governance of Middle-earth, the Valar chose to send their emissaries to help the Free Peoples to challenge Sauron. Out of the 5 Istari who came out of the west, only 3 feature prominently in the history of Middle-earth: Gandalf the Grey, Saruman the White, and Radagast the Brown. But what of the Blue Wizards? Very little is actually known about them, especially in the west, and they had no names there. It seems that the 2 Istari came much earlier, possibly at the same time as Glorfindel, in the Second Age, just when Sauron was beginning to move. But whereas Glorfindel's mission took him westwards, since he was sent to aid Elrond in the war in Eriador, the Blue Wizard travelled into the far east and south for a different purpose. Sauron's gathering of armies had not been unopposed, and his success had been much less than his hope, but this is a matter spoken of in notes on the 5 Wizards. He had 2 powerful enemies behind his back, the east, and in the southern lands, to which he had not yet given sufficient thought: Morinehtar and Romestamo, Darkness Slayer and East Helper. As I mentioned in a previous video, the eastern and southern lands were filled with many savage tribes of men, of old corrupted by Morgoth, that Sauron had gathered, or was now gathering, to his service. But some of them had rebelled against their dark masters, and it is for this reason that the Lords of the West sent the Blue Wizards eastwards to begin with. The 2 Istari's mission was to aid these men who had turned away from Morgoth or Sauron worship and cause as much dissension and disarray in the region as they could. They became known as Morinehtar and Romestamo, and it is even said that they established secret cults and magic traditions among their new wards. Their insurrection maintained a state of civil unrest in the east, and significantly weakened the Dark Lord's mustering of armies, ultimately allowing for the defeat of Sauron's servants at the hands of the Númenóreans in the war in Eriador. After the downfall of the Dark Lord in the War of the Last Alliance, the Blue Wizards, fearing that he might yet return, tried in the Third Age to search out his hiding, but failed to discover him. Their ultimate fate, however, is unknown. They never returned, and whether they remained in the East, pursuing there the purposes for which they were sent, or perished, or as some hold were ensnared by Sauron and became his servants, is not now known. It is also worth considering that the same fate did not necessarily befell both of the Blue Wizards. One of these 2 Istari could have stayed true to his task, becoming an unsung hero in the struggle against Sauron, while the other could have grown enamored of power and fallen from his errand, becoming Sauron's servant instead. Regardless of the outcome, their early actions in the East still played a crucial part in thwarting the Dark Lord's plans. They must have had very great influence on the history of the Second Age and Third Age in weakening and disarraying the forces of the East, who would both in the Second Age and Third Age otherwise have outnumbered the West. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.